implying government or business affiliation. And this is one we have gone after quite a bit. This is our folks that are reaching out to consumers saying, we're going to help you with your debt problems. And yeah, we're connected with the federal government in helping with loans and student debt. So that is one we have been focusing on quite a bit. The FTC is committed to using our new authority to hold scammers accountable. And so in this first year that the rule went into effect, we have brought cases alleging, like I had said, student debt relief schemes, phantom debt collection, that's where debt doesn't exist, but someone tells you you do owe something, and then also as well as e-commerce business opportunity schemes. In addition, the FTC has worked with domain registrars to shut down 13 websites that were illegally impersonating the Federal Trade Commission online. So it's not just the IRS or someone talking to you about jury duty. Even the Federal Trade Commission has a lot of folks pretending to, scammers out there pretending to be us. And sadly, I've received multiple calls, typically from older consumers who have asked me, did you call me today? Did you reach out to me? And scammers are pretending to be me asking consumers for money. So that impersonation rule will be a really effective tool as we fight AI. We're also taking law enforcement actions against companies who make misrepresentations about AI to deceive consumers. So for example, we just settled an administration action against a company called Workato. So Workato, it markets itself to consumers as being able to determine whether written conduct was generated with AI or by a human. And so the company claimed that it was 98% accurate. But after independent testing, we determined that the accuracy rate was actually only about 53%. And so we went after this company and made sure that they would stop engaging in false or misleading or unsupported advertising. Second, in addition to our law enforcement efforts, we've encouraged private innovation to address some of these issues. So in particular, voice cloning. So after we often at the FTC will hold workshops. We'll bring in experts to talk about issues and figure out ways what we can, as different stakeholders, to address issues. And so we convened a workshop with industry experts, law enforcers, and other stakeholders to examine voice cloning technologies. And what we did here, which was fantastic, is that we created a challenge. And we can do this pursuant to our authority under the America Competes Act, which gives us the ability to conduct prize competitions to simulate innovation and to solve tough problems to advance our mission. So we presented this voice cloning challenge to companies, and it was a call to action for innovators. Help us solve this problem. The problem that we were just talking about with the grandma who received the voice clone message asking for money for her grandson. What do we do about this? What can we do about this problem? And so it was really interesting because we had multiple winning submissions, all of which could prevent harmful use of deepfake voice clones. And they came about it with different approaches, which I thought was phenomenal. One of them used AI, an AI algorithm to be able to differentiate between genuine and synthetic voice patterns. And this is one example of how AI can actually be used for good and to be able to help solve some of the fraud that is being perpetuated by it. Another one was being able to protect the audio samples that are online so folks couldn't harvest them to be able to use for the voice cloning. And then another one was this liveness detection technology that could detect deepfakes in real time. So my hope is that in addition to this voice cloning, that industry will be out there developing technologies to respond to a lot of these problems that we're seeing with AI development in order to fight these bad actors. And I suspect that the FTC will absolutely be invested in that and seek for future opportunities like the America Competes Act to provide ways to support innovation. The third way we fight fraud and promote innovation through the FTC's research is through our research on artificial intelligence. So it is absolutely a priority of the FTC to better understand the issues surrounding the development of AI in this evolving market. So to that end, we have used our authority under 6B. So 6B of the FTC Act is very unusual. It gives us special authority to send out requests to companies to get non-public information about their business practices, and we can use that to generate reports and to be able to communicate that to lawmakers and others in understanding different issues in the market. So in December 2020, we issued orders to social media and companies and streaming platforms to try and understand how these companies were scrutinizing and restricting paid commercial advertising, which was deceptive, relating to financial scams, healthcare products, counterfeit and fake goods, and others. For that study, among other things, the order sought information on their policies and practices relating to paid commercial ads and how they could screen and monitor those for compliance, including through both human review and through automated systems. And so a goal of that study was to understand and shed light on how platforms create ads, including using generative artificial intelligence. What we found was that it provided really important information to the FTC to help us understand, and to help consumers in Congress understand how these companies were working. And so for example, as a mother, I believe the staff report that was created was really important, provided lots of good contributions regarding how social media treats children and teens and their data. And these topics are really important to policymakers who are trying to understand what to do with this. But this is also really important at this moment because one of the critical inputs for AI is data. So understanding how to use that and how we need to be treating that and thinking about those issues. And in particular, as we're talking about the personal interactions with consumers and consumers' own data, those specific issues are super important. In January, another study, in January 2024, we issued a study regarding AI partnerships and investments. You may have been watching in the news how these companies, it's very interesting to see who's investing in what, and they are somewhat unusual, some of the corporate structures. So that has been very interesting to watch, and that is something that we have been paying close attention to so we can understand the commercial dynamics that are shaping the AI evolution. And then most recently, this last month, we issued a 6B study, on orders for a 6B study, requiring 7 companies that operate consumer-facing AI chatbots to provide us with information regarding children and teens' use of chatbots. As I mentioned, I'm sure you're all familiar with chatbots and how they interact with folks and these interpersonal relationships. But there's been some really concerning issues about children's use of chatbots. Particularly, there's been reports of chatbots providing information on how to commit crimes, chatbots talking and influencing children to commit suicide, self-harm or harm to others, discussing role play, romantic or sexual relationships. At least one child in the United States allegedly committed suicide based on his interaction with the chatbot. And the consumer demand for chatbots is just absolutely expanding. So as of 2024, the global AI companion industry was valued at $28 billion. And a lot of this is likely growing because of children's use of this and their interactions. So the FTC chatbot study seeks information from companies on whether and how they use age-based restrictions, how they limit and use access to data that's gathered from children, collection, use, retention, sharing, and sale of the user's information. And in particular, something I'm interested in, how they're providing parental controls. There was a report just today about parental controls and limitations of children under 18 with the chatbot, AI character chatbots. But I also anticipate that the information we obtain from these chatbots about teenagers and kids, that will become very important in our romance scams and other phishing scams, because we'll understand chatbots and their uses and their persuasion tactics and everything. So that can support our law enforcement efforts. So the fourth thing that we are doing to help the commission with respect to fighting fraud is to educate consumers and how to identify and protect themselves from scams, including those involving artificial intelligence. I cannot stress enough how important consumer education is and how effective it can be. As I mentioned before, consumers have lost billions of dollars in these frauds, but just with a few simple tips, consumers could have avoided significant losses. So I just want to show you another video.
Scam artists are pretending to be IRS officials to get your money. They'll call, email, or text you, claiming you owe back taxes or there's a problem with your tax return. They even rig caller ID to make their call look official. They play on your fears. They threaten to take your driver's license or sue, arrest, or deport you. They want you to pay fast. What's the truth? The truth is the IRS's first contact with you will always be a letter in the mail. It's not a phone call, email, or text message. They won't insist that you pay with a prepaid debit card, a wire transfer, or cashier's check. Now you know. Has an IRS imposter contacted you? Report it at ftc.gov/imposters.
So throughout today's presentation, I've showed you some of the videos that we have on our website on ftc.gov, and we have them on our YouTube channel, on FTC's YouTube channel. And my fellow commissioners and I are also recording and posting other short videos to try and really educate folks about the different frauds that are out there that are prevalent that you might see. So I would encourage you all to take a look at those and forward them to friends and family to help educate folks on what kinds of frauds are out there. To that end, I want to also share just a newer thing that have been created. And this is a written material we have. And we can leave it on the desk so people can take it, but I'll show you what it is in this slide. This is a contact sheet, and I'm not sure, hopefully you can maybe see some of it. But this contact sheet, what it does, it's helping consumers get ready for a scam or a fraud. So if they suspect that someone is trying to scam them, they will have their contact information right here. And they can have it in one simple place, like all of their businesses, your banks or someone else. It's also very good idea to have a trusted friend, someone you think who could help you to spot a scam. And this is something we're encouraging people to do, to have those numbers written down so that when you're in the midst of a scam, if something's happening, you have that in place. One of the tips in this last video we tried to emphasize to consumers is to slow down. Because what scammers want to do, they want to create this pressure like you have to respond immediately. And so I don't know, do you guys remember as kids, the stop, drop, and roll? If you're on fire, caught on fire. I want you to think about that for scams. Stop, drop, and call. Stop what you're doing, slow down, drop the call, drop the text, and then call your actual bank, call a friend that you trust, that you know. So that contact sheet can be very helpful for folks. And if you're not a paper person, fill it out, take a picture, and save it, maybe not in your 40,000 photos section, but like in a different note or whatnot. But somewhere where you can actually have that information. And I want to share just a last example of a recent scam that happened to a young student in Utah. So this student received a call from someone pretending to be their bank. And they told him that someone at the bank had created a replica driver's license and was going to be able to access it with a different photo. And so they told the student that this teller was involved. And so the student had to go into the bank and close it out keep me on the phone because that teller is going to tell you that you can't shut down your bank so they can have access to the funds. And so the student, of course, was panicked. It was all of the student's money and followed the instructions. And then the fraudster said, we created this universal account for you. If a fraudster tells you that, that is not a real thing. And so then the student put the money in the universal account, and then it was gone. So just so you can understand, a few things. When I talked to the student after the experience, and what he said was he was so panicked because this was all of his money that he had saved and ready to start school, to start college. And what happens in that moment when there's pure panic, and this is why we stress, stop, drop, and call, slow down. Because in that panic, in that moment, what the student explained was that he couldn't remember what he had told the fraudsters and what the fraudsters had told him in terms of like providing account information. And after the fact, the student's like, of course this doesn't sound right. But in the moment, you're panicking and you're so scared that you're going to lose this information, lose all of your financial money that you are willing to do what it takes, and you're trusting the source that is pretending to help you through this really stressful time. So that's why I can't stress enough the stop, drop, and call, like really the slowing down to help you think through these things. And it's what I tried to stress to this young student, and particularly that they are very sophisticated. I've had family members and friends that have been frauded. I've had, and this is people that are very highly educated. One friend who is a doctor received a call telling him he had missed jury duty and to show up with money in front of the police station. That is how brazen these fraudsters are. They will show up and collect your money in front of the police station. So, and he was very concerned. His wife called me and I said, drop the call right now. That is not how the courts work. So this is happening to everyone. I just spoke to another friend who spoke to doctors who had been defrauded from these texts with tolls. Have you guys received any of those texts? Yes. So a lot of folks that have been defrauded of that with those texts. And in fact, that one almost got me because I was thinking, oh wait, I was in Virginia just that while ago. And that one was really, really convincing. And it's because they are so convincing. They're getting more sophisticated. They're using the technology to make these even better and more effective. And consumers, they may feel foolish, like, do I sound stupid if I call a friend and ask them about this? That is, please do not feel foolish. Reach out to a friend, ask them. Before I conclude, I want to emphasize that I really do think the FTC should be aiming to facilitate, not hamper innovation in artificial intelligence, and I think we can do it. I know it can provide immeasurable benefits for businesses and consumers. But let me make clear, the FTC can do both. We can both promote innovation in AI and remain vigilant in enforcing the law against fraudsters. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much again for joining us. We have time for a few questions if you've had them throughout. So we're going to start right here, and please state your name if you're studying something.
Hi, my name is, can you hear me? Okay, hi, Sava. I was just wondering, like, what percentage of the AI frauds were you able to successfully prosecute and shut down?
I don't have those numbers. This is also, these things take a lot of time to be able to work against these. The one thing I also didn't mention is that a lot of these are becoming even more international. We do have authorities to be able to work with our international partners. So under the US Safe Web Act, we can work with foreign jurisdictions to be able to gather information, share information in prosecuting these consumer protection crimes. But they do take a while, and it can be very difficult.
What's the average turnaround time to prosecute?
It just depends on the case.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so you had mentioned putting age restrictions on chatbot companions. I was curious about the First Amendment implications of that. I know you guys prosecuted ALO with the state of Utah, won that. For those of you who don't know, that's Pornhub. And then there's a current lawsuit right now with the state of Utah with Meta and also TikTok in some age restriction type minor content consumption. So if you could talk a little bit about that, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. So we did not place any age restrictions on chatbots. So this was a company that on its own did that. And so I suspect what's interesting is that we will see companies be doing that as more of these harms or concerns and issues appear. We may see companies doing things on their own to protect consumers. We may not. We'll see as we keep studying these issues. But age restrictions is an important question. That obviously was something that Utah passed a while ago, and that was a case that actually went before the Supreme Court, not Utah's law, but a similar law out of Texas in terms of whether such age restrictions were appropriate, and this was related to porn websites. And there the Supreme Court found that they were appropriate. So I do see that there might be some interest in this area and some development in this area. In a related field, we enforce a statute called COPPA, and this is a statute that protects kids under 13 related to their privacy. And what this statute does is if you are an online operator and you're collecting data from under 13-year-olds, then you have to give parents notice and the ability to provide verifiable consent. So we recently had a case against Disney. So Disney had a bunch of videos they were uploading to YouTube. And in Disney, if the videos you upload are designated for kids, then YouTube will not collect information from them. But what was happening is Disney was uploading these videos without that designation, so it was collecting information from kids. We sued Disney, and we had a $10 million settlement against them. But importantly, it requires them to now ensure reviewing all of the videos to make sure that they have that proper designation. But what's really interesting about that order that we came up with is it also provides another provision in there that says that if YouTube comes up with their own age verification process, that Disney would not be required to review all of those. So it's basically this incentive for Disney to incentivize other companies to have that age verification process in place to avoid that compliance requirement.
All right, we have one or two more questions, and we'll start right here.
Is there any desire in the future to limit more general data collection means, not just for kids, but for everyone, especially as we're seeing data be used for more sinister purposes like scams?
Mm-hmm. It's such a fascinating question, and it is really a question that is happening globally everywhere. So I just recently attended the Global Privacy Assembly in Seoul, Korea, and have spoken on privacy issues in Tokyo and others just in the last month. And these are who attends this are privacy authorities from all over the world. So I was representing the United States there because even though we do not have, the United States does not have a comprehensive privacy legislation. What we have right now are different states that have different privacy laws in place. But we do enforce some privacy statutes, including the one that I mentioned, COPPA. But also the FTC has brought some actions related to privacy. But the reason why it's so important at this very moment is because as I had mentioned, AI has a couple of different critical inputs, right? You have talent, you have electricity, you have data centers, infrastructure, but data is one of those critical inputs. So whatever you do to data in terms of regulation can have a direct impact on how that innovation grows and how there's competition in that market. So that approach is very important and very interesting to many jurisdictions on how to do that. And you can see in some regimes where the regulatory environment is very difficult, that they're going to have more difficulty in innovation and AI in those areas. But it doesn't mean that we don't care about privacy, right? And so as a commissioner, I have supported different privacy actions including ones with sensitive location. So those are brought under our general privacy statute, which is our general, unfair and trade deceptive statute, which is Section 5. And that is very broad, and it allows us to go after any harm to consumers where they can't avoid it and where there's no countervailing benefits to consumers or to competition. And so that's where we have used that authority to go after different privacy concerns, but particularly in sensitive location data. And that would include places of worship, medical facilities, and that is like precise geolocation data. But when we did that, like I was mentioning, that statute is a real cost-benefit analysis statute. We have to look at the very specific harms that are attached with the data we're trying to protect. There is a real cost-benefit analysis that has to happen when we're looking at privacy and data. One of the reasons why the United States, why we have so many free websites, is because our data is basically allowing those websites to activate for free. So if that is something that we regulate and take that away, you are going to see loss of access to many, many websites. In fact, what we've seen is natural experiments in other countries where they've offered consumers the ability to share your data and get it access for free, or not have your data and pay for that. And overwhelmingly, the people that would like to share their data to get access to free. So we have to weigh those costs and benefits as we're looking at a whole as to how to approach privacy.
All right. I know there's a few more
So I
questions.
could talk to you for like 5 hours on this.
We have a few more questions. We have time for maybe one more right here.
Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm an English major. You mentioned the large influx of the AI scams because it's just such a powerful tool. I was wondering if perhaps with this influx, we should have some kind of inclusion in high school curriculum to defend students who are either just recently acquired phones or are going into, and how do we get this information, the videos, out into the wider public? I'm surprised I haven't seen, warnings. Most people learn because they got duped by it or from a family member who had. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's such an excellent question. And I really couldn't stress more. I wish we had unlimited funds to be able to push out these videos and to be able to get to consumers. We have some materials on our website that are specifically dedicated to children, ages like younger children, to be able to teach them about some of these scams and frauds at a very early age so that they can recognize this. And so we have worked with educators to be able to make sure that this is available. Some of what you're talking about would be very much up to the states in order to sort of integrate that curriculum into the different schools.
Right. So unfortunately, we are at our time. First, join me in thanking Commissioner Holyoak for being here today. And a few quick notes for you as you leave. As mentioned at the beginning of today's forum, we have a civic engagement fair. A few clubs from across campus are right outside here. So please go out this door, actually. You can grab pizza and then check out some of the tables on your way out. Thank you for joining us at the Hinckley Institute. We hope to see you next time.